I collect natural material from the spaces and I cast them in metal. Most of the time I cast in bronze, but I'm also casting in silver at the moment. My work is about the translocation of space, which means taking elements of one space and presenting them somewhere else. I want people to look at my work and see what inspired it and kind of imagine what that space would be like. I started off focusing on texture before I learned traditional casting techniques. I was creating texture in mild steel and working on quite large scales. I've moved on from working with artificial texture, and I'm using the actual texture from the bark and then combining it with the pieces that have my drawings on them. It's basically the same principle as the large scale casting, just smaller. I'm attaching the bark on with these pieces, which you call sprues, which is where the metal will flow into the mould. So this whole piece, when it's finished, gets covered in plaster. Then we burn out the wax and the wood together, leaving a negative mould, which then gets filled with the molten metal. This one will probably be in bronze, and I've got a silver one in the flask today ready to be cast. So it's quite therapeutic working with wax. I find it quite relaxing. It's also quite technical. You have to think about how the metal would flow into your work. So you have to envisage it flowing in. So all of my sprues, these pieces I'm attaching, have to be angled down so that it encourages the flow of metal in the casting machine. There's lots of technical aspects to the work. It affects it much more on a larger scale with the big bronze because there's no vacuum to encourage airflow. I've been really inspired by the work of Nancy Graves. She really tested the boundaries of casting. She did a lot of direct casting and burning out organic material, which is what I'm experimenting with. Her workshop was always full of bits and pieces that are already cast, bits that she'd like to cast next. I've always got lots of different pieces on the go at different stages of making. I really like natural spaces, and it's important for me to record my own feelings in my work. It doesn't matter to me if people understand the pieces, just to appreciate them as objects inspired by that space. I work with photos a lot, so I take photos in the forest, I go and visit the spaces, and I draw when I'm there. I take my drawings and transfer them into the metal. I'm inspired by space. Space is a common theme in my work. I look at how light and sound affect space at different times of day or different times of the year, and all of these elements affect my drawings. I go back to the same space and draw there on multiple different days to get an idea of how that space changes. I really enjoy going to the forest. It's important for me to go back lots to the same place. Every time you go back, it feels a bit different. Things have changed, things have grown, the spaces evolve. sometimes the space that I've tried to recreate in my work won't exist again when I go back, which makes my pieces feel even more special. I think for me, the pieces are like a personal response to the location. They're like diary entries. Each collection tells a story about that space and how I have connected with it. I think that's why using film is really important to me. It kind of captures all those moments and all the bits of the landscape that perhaps others don't see that I do. I really want my use of film to highlight the areas that I'm interested in, pick up on the bits that have inspired me. It makes each piece even more unique. So not only are the castings unique, but the drawings I put into the metal and the film or the sound that I play with them are from that specific time and won't ever look the same if I went back and re-recorded it. Casting the bark directly is really important to me. Traditionally, you would make a mould from your chosen object, or you would model your chosen object in clay and then take a mould from it. But I want to use the material in a way that preserves it forever. Working with direct burnouts means that I can take a piece from that location and then it can forever exist outside of that location as part of something else, as part of something new. It gives it a new life. If I was working with moulds, it doesn't make each piece unique. It takes away from what makes that particular piece of bark special. If I was to create replicas of a piece I like, it wouldn't be true to that space in the environment, because there's only ever going to be one piece like that. Working with casting allows me to take away that piece and keep it forever.